watching Thrifty Kaniffy. Hello everyone and welcome to Thrifty Kaniffy. I've got an old-timer knife for you guys today to review. This is the clam packaging that it comes with, just a little backing card. And it kind of has a rundown of features that y'all get into. But we'll take a quick look at this. 9CR18 mauve blades, nickel silver bolsters, heat treated back spring, actually a locking mechanism. And this is the Lockback style knife with a leather sheath. Of course, this is the Mountain Beaver Junior. It's a smaller knife than the Mountain Beaver Senior. There's a Senior, but this one's a little smaller. And this is model number 28OTCP. This is actually the 28 model over old timer, and then CP stands for clam packaging. And you will see that this is the knife in question. We have a wooden handled knife here, lockback design, the 9CR18 mauve blade, drop point blade, which we'll talk about in a minute. But first up, let's look at the exterior. And we've got a 3 5/8 inch knife with two style of wood. We've got rosewood in the front and ebony wood in the back. Nickel silver spacer between, which is got some nice line detail. And then you've got 5 nickel silver pins for its construction, and this bolster, which sort of is a keystone shaped bolster, as well as a lanyard hole, and of course the cigar shaped old timer shield, which is a little different because typically on old timers you'll have the shield face up with the blade to the top. In this case we have it inverted, which is the way this is designed. That is not a mistake. So this is the way they intended it. And you can see the cutout there for the locking mechanism, and you get this nice contoured handle here for sort of a finger groovish style hold between your knuckles. And you get this nice gunstock style checking or diamond style gunstock into the wood. It's not as large as you would see on a lot of the gunstocking on other handled knives. It's sort of a smaller variety of that and doesn't cut as deep, but you still get the very nice grippiness that you would get with the gunstock, even on a more traditional style gunstockings. So it is nice because you do get quite a bit of grip from that. Now let's take a closer look at the blade. This is a drop point blade, again made from 9CR18 mauve. Now typically old timer has 7CR17 mauve, so this is a little bit of a step up in terms of the blade material. Okay, you get this nice large nail nick there, uncluttered, and nice hollow grind on this blade. Just a little bit of a hollow grind. It's not very concave up in there, but you do just get that small amount of a hollow grind on that blade. And then here we have the Schrade tang stamp. And as I mentioned before, this is the 28OT. If you're wondering why the CP isn't on there, it's because that's the packaging style for the clam pack. You won't have that on the blade because it's just the model 28OT Mountain Beaver Junior. Alright, there's a good look at the thickness of the blade and how that sharpens up at the point there. And you can see it's got a nice edge on it here. Pretty evenly done. There's that side. And we'll get a good look at the other side. You can see it's pretty even on both sides. And I've cut some paper with this already, just kind of giving it a test. And it does a respectable job. I wouldn't say it's a slicey, dicey knife out of the box, but with a little bit of a honing of the blade, I bet you can make this pretty darn sharp. I'll give you a quick paper test, but I don't expect it to be like earth-shattering or anything. But yeah, that gives you a pretty good idea that it can do it paper cut with relative ease, and that's pretty good right out of the box. The lock mechanism is really easily to break down and get the knife closed, so no trouble there. One of my huge complaints on any Lockback is if it's difficult to close, then I find that to be a defect, or it's certainly objectionable enough to return the knife. I don't really have much tolerance for a hard to close Lockback, and this is definitely not one of those. So you'll be happy to know that this can be closed relatively easily, and it's not going to put a big dent in your thumb trying to do it. Some of the styling cues of this remind me of, I don't know, maybe late 60s, early 70s design. I don't know when this exactly came out, like when it was first introduced, or if it was even introduced by the original Schrade company or not. I'd have to go back and do some homework to find that out, but in any case, it does look like something from maybe the late 60s, early 70s. And I do like that it has the checking on it, because that does really provide a really nice, comfortable grip. And the way that the handle is shaped, it does provide for a very comfortable grip. You kind of get a natural, I wouldn't call it a choil, but a nice little valley here for your finger to rest in. And you can really choke up with your thumb on the top of that. And actually these little points on the bolster kind of act as a jimping when you're using the knife. It's kind of hard to describe it without actually holding it, but the points of that bolster kind of act as some jimping to hold your finger in place. So you have a pretty comfortable grip and a very confident grip. The rock on this is just ever so slight, which, you know, is pretty acceptable for a Lockback. I've seen much worse. There is just a touch of a rock up and down there, but not enough to affect a cut in my mind. It's more to the downward position than the upward position, so as you're pressing down, it's not going to move. Side to side play, pretty much non-existent, and you can see there is a small little gap there, but it doesn't really affect anything because that's not where it's making contact. It's further down on the tang there. But I do like the fact that this is a knife in the sort of the 3 3/4 inch ranges, 3 3/4 inches to 4 inch range, which I find to be like a perfect style size for pocket carry. But you know what's interesting about that is it comes with this sheath, so you have the option of carrying it like this. I think I'd probably just, for a knife this size, do without the cumbersomeness of having a sheath, unless you or carrying another knife instead. Then I could see, as this is maybe a second carry, instead of like a fifth pocket knife, you would have a side mounted knife. And this has a nice, very positive, snappish close to it. You get that old timer logo, and then some stamping there on the flap that goes all the way down to about here, and nice stitching on the belt loop. Now this is right at 2 inches I measured, so you're probably going to have a heck of a time getting a full 2-inch width belt on here. It's pretty tight, but anything smaller than 2 inches should be alright on the standard belt widths. And you get really good material. This is a very stiff, pretty high quality leather here that we're looking at. The stitching around the pocket area here is pretty well done. And of course you get you know, all the way around the back side as well. So it's pretty decent sheath, you know. It's another thing I always like to test when you get a knife with a sheath. Does it hold the sheath the way you'd like? No rattling around. Nothing drives me nuts more than when you're walking and you can hear your knife bobbing up and down, right? But this does not do that. It holds it very tightly to the bolster, and you can see that there's no rattling or anything when I shake it. Absolutely no movement at all when it's in there. So that's a really well designed fit for the knife. So that's a nice little bonus you get there. Again, I wouldn't probably do it. For a knife this size, I'd probably just carry it in my pocket. But again, if you're carrying 2 knives, hey, all the power to you, have a second knife on you. But I think this would make for a really good camping knife that has a 90-degree flat on the top of there. Probably do some feathering with the back of the blade, you know, for those real fine little feathers and stuff like that, for some fire starting or whatever you'd like to do. You get the 5 pins, which makes it a really sturdy constructed design. You know, very confident lockup, and the blade has no wobble, which is what you want to see in a, I would say, medium strength use type knife. Not light use, but more of a medium use style knife where you can do a little bit of more rugged work with it. Heavy use, no, you're not going to be doing any batoning with it or anything like that, but I think it makes for a good camp knife and one you can rely on and make some pretty respectively heavy cuts. But that's going to do it for my review, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. I think this knife is unusually shaped, and it's just something different. It's not your everyday Lockback, you know, pretty slender. You know, it's in the size range where you can carry it. Heavier use than your ordinary Lockback, and just a fun knife to own. Then also gives you some nice options for the style of carry you'd like to have. So, Oldtimer 28OT Mountain Beaver Jr. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Take care.